Welcome to the BPMN Analyzer tool demonstration. So the BPMN Analyzer tool is linked in the description here, and it's a tool to check certain properties for your BPMN processes. The tool comes like this in 3 steps. So first you model your BPMN process, you add some custom propositions if you want to check custom things for your BPMN model, and then in the third step you analyze your BPMN model. So first of all, in this modeling step, you can upload your own BPMN model. You can edit a BPMN model here and then later download it, or also download an SVG. So as a default, the order handling process is loaded, which is very simple. An order is placed by a customer, and then in parallel, we retrieve the payment for the order. We fetch the goods from our storage area, and once those 2 activities are finished, we're shipping the goods to the customer, and then the order is delivered and our process ends. This is a very simple process. Let's introduce an error into the process and see if we can find out in the analyzer that something is wrong with our process. So we introduce an error by changing this parallel gateway to an exclusive gateway. Let's jump to the third step, to the analyze step. Here you can see again the process on top here. You cannot edit it anymore, but you can still see it to know kind of what you are working with. And now here in the analysis section, there are 2 tabs. There's a general BPMN properties tab and the CTL properties tab. And first of all, we'll talk about the general BPMN properties. So for example, you could check, are there any dead activities in my process by clicking this button here? And indeed here we find out that the ship goods activity is dead in our process, so it can never be executed. And this is of course due to the error here we have introduced. And then we can also check this option to complete property, which checks that our process always terminates. And if we check this property, we see, okay, our process does not always terminate. This is again due to this gateway here. It only creates 1 token, so only one of these activities is executed. And then this parallel gateway here, which is trying to synchronize both sequence flows, can never be executed because only one of these sequence flows will hold a token when running this process. And then we can also check the safeness property, which checks that there cannot be 2 tokens sitting at the same sequence flow at any point in time, and at least this one it holds. And then of course you can also check all the properties at the same time, and you get the same results here. So now something was wrong with our process. Let's fix our process by just reloading so we get the correct default process again. And now if we go back to the third step here, we check all our properties again. Now we're really getting a parallelization here due to this gateway. So this other parallel gateway here can do synchronization, so everything works fine. Our process always terminates. There are no dead activities and safeness is still fulfilled. So those are the general BPMN properties. Let's go back to our modeling again and introduce a different error to explain these custom propositions and custom properties you would like to check. Now we're changing the other parallel gateway to an exclusive gateway. Now let's go to the second step here, where you can basically add BPMN propositions, it's what it's called, but you can basically say, you can define certain situations for your process. So here we can, for example, say there is a running process instance regarding this process here. This is represented by this green circle here. We call these circles process snapshots. And then we can also say, okay, now there is a token sitting at this activity here, the ship goods activity. So this would mean there is a process running, an running order handling process. And there is also inside this order handling process, we're currently executing the ship goods activity. This is basically represented by saying there is a token sitting here. So now everything looks fine, and this is exactly something that should happen, right? But what if we add 2 tokens here to the ship goods activity? Now this describes a totally different situation. We have only 1 process running here, so a customer has placed 1 order, but for some reason we're executing the ship goods activity twice. So we're running it 2 times, so we're shipping the goods to the customers twice, which is a great situation for the customer, but a really bad situation for our business. Because we only retrieved payment once, there was only 1 order, but we're shipping goods twice. So this is something which we don't want to happen at all. So we can call this property something nice, like ship goods twice. And now this is a specific property for this specific BPMN model. It's not something general like, are there dead activities, does this process always end? It's something specific for our model here. And then of course you could also define multiple of these properties with other activities running and other things. But let's focus on the ship goods twice activity. And now if we go again to the third step, we could check the general properties, but that's not very interesting. Let's check the CTL properties now. So CTL stands for computational tree logic. It's a temporal logic, a specific temporal logic. And now you can use the situations, or we call them propositions here, and from the theoretical wording, the ship goods twice proposition and then the other proposition, you can use them here to write a custom CTL property to check custom things. For example, we would like to check that if we can reach this erroneous situation where goods are shipped twice, but only one payment has been received. Since most of the people are not familiar with CTL, we have created these CTL templates here on top, where you can just say, okay, what do I want to check? And here we can say, can we reach? And then we can select the proposition. We can check the proposition ship goods twice. And then we can just say, give me the CTL property associated with this CTL template. And then we can check this property now. And we can see this property holds, meaning that now we can reach this erroneous situation where goods are shipped twice. And this is, of course, due to this modeling error we have introduced here with the exclusive gateway, which will receive tokens on both incoming flows but just push them both through. So there'll be two tokens sitting here in front of the activity, and thus the activity can be executed twice. So actually, what we would like to check is that we would like to have a property which becomes true whenever our process is correct. Now this becomes false when our process is correct. So we can just say, okay, never reaches the ship goods twice property. This is what we really want to check. We never want to get into this bad state. So now we're getting a slightly different property. And if we check this for our erroneous model, of course, this property doesn't hold because there is this modeling error here. Let's go back to our process and change this to a parallel gateway. So fix our process again. We don't need this other property. Let's just delete it. Now, currently, you have to redo the propositions here, but this will be fixed in the future. And now in our third step, we can check this property again. And now we can see, okay, we never reach this erroneous property. We never get into the state where shipping goods twice. So here you've seen a custom property, which is very specific to this BPMN model. And now you could say, okay, it's very easy to see that the gateways here were not matching, but in your process or in another process, there might be multiple pools communicating with messages, communicating with signals, using other BPMN features. And then it's not so easy to check all these properties to keep everything in mind. That's where the BPMN Analyzer really comes in and can help you to check that your models are correct, even before you run them, even before you deploy them. And the nice thing with these CTL templates is that even if someone who doesn't know CTL can use these templates to check its model, and we can have more templates than just this one. They could also contain multiple propositions, and they can be written by a CTL expert, and he can test them and verify that they're doing what they're supposed to do, and then everyone can use them. And then here we could even hide the CTL properties from the user, and just when you click on the button, check the property. And then that's very nice, and everyone can enjoy the benefits from CTL, and only some select people who like writing CTL properties can do that for you. And if that's not enough and you really want to dive deep into the model, you can also download the graph transformation system for this model, which is the underlying formalization we are using, and open it in Groove, the graph transformation tool we're using under the hood, and check it in even more detail.